I always love these show and tell videos the most because they're so fun. Half the fun of thrifting is, you know, showing off the goods of what you got, right? Where are the bargains? So this video is a little thrift haul of all the things I've collected recently, sewing supplies and fashion, that hopefully will inspire you to see what you can also get for yourself, thrifted and secondhand. Just see what is actually out there. My friends, welcome back. It is another thrift haul. We have actually been speaking quite a lot about thrifting and like how to save money on sewing supplies, because if you just go to the store and just buy stuff, it can be really expensive. And in a recent video I made about that, I talked about how I sort of shop and thrift a lot of secondhand and look for different things, sew from a stash, so to say, and that is how I work out in my sewing. And so this thrift haul is a little bit of a sneak peek because it's just fun to see what everyone finds, the treasure hunting, right? And to see what is possible, to give you ideas of how I actually implement those strategies that I gave you into my own collecting of a sewing stash to get great secondhand, more sustainable and definitely more affordable sewing supplies to sew with. So first off, yes, as you know, I pretty much thrift and buy almost everything I can secondhand, and then I sew from my stash. That is the way that I operate. Let's start with these finds. These are some great sewing books that I found at, I actually found these on a local classifieds, so keep an eye out for those types of things. I was very fortunate enough that actually someone from Instagram that follows me brought these to my attention. They were like 2,000 kilometers away from me, but she saw them and thought of me, and then the seller was willing to actually ship them, so it was wonderful. Yes, this is a sewing book from 1930 something, and yes, I actually already have a copy. One can never have too many vintage sewing books, okay? I can't help myself. I mean, this came as a bundle and I love it. So this one here is one of my favorites. The illustration on the front is just beautiful. The guides inside are just adorable. It's so well put out, easy to understand. It is so in-depth. I love this sewing book. As you know, I base most of my sewing on vintage techniques, and I teach the way that these types of books actually teach, as in it's about the individual skills that you need, because then you can apply them to all of your different projects. So this is the kind of books that I love because they are how my philosophy around sewing and learning to sew work. I also found this one here, Principles of Garment Cutting, and yes, I actually already have a copy of this too. So these are different print versions of ones that I have, so they actually are a little bit different than the originals that I have. This one is all about flat pattern making and making adjustments to those flat patterns. I always love these. I mean, the diagrams, the illustrations, when you learn pattern making, this is like hieroglyphics. You'll be able to read this and understand exactly what they're doing to the pattern to make those changes. Obviously, when you start out, this looks like complete gibberish and you don't know what's going on. But trust me, this all makes perfect sense, and you only need to see these to know what changes you're making and you understand what's going on. It's brilliant. Always have a look out your local classifieds for different books, and these vintage books are amazing. They're such a wealth of information, and don't you love the smell of old books? So it also came with two others here, the world's most influential fashion designers. Now this one is great. It's a modern one, but it's just sort of cataloging the different designers and the different influences they've had on fashion, and it's just wonderful. They have some very, very vintage ones, even from the 90s, and it's quite in-depth, and this one's quite interesting. This one, 200 projects you can get into as a fashion designer. Not so much for me as much, but it came with it, and you know, anything's always good. But that was my bundle from the local classifieds. Always keep your eyes out because these were really, really great affordable prices. And we never stop learning sewing. You can always pick up great tips from looking at different books like these. Highly recommend keeping your eye out for them. Okay, these next items are from the remnants section in the thrift store. So always check. These tiny little bundles of things that look like scraps can often be really great because, for example, This here was all bundled up and it was just like this little thing, and it was like, oh, is this like interfacing? As if I want to buy secondhand interfacing, right? Something from thrift store. Then I looked closer and I realized that this was not, well, it is interfacing, but it is a vintage sew-in interfacing that feels amazing. It is stiff, it is crinkly, it is beautiful. So first gave it away to me is because I noticed that it was actually printed like text on the selvage here. Generally, if you see that, it's generally a sign of good quality or vintage. In most cases, it's a good sign. And so instantly when I felt this, yes. So I have now this great bit of sew-in interfacing that is just a delight to touch and feel. I can tell you nothing modern feels like this at all. So I'll give this a pre-wash, and that will go into my stash ready there when I need it. It also came with this one. This is like super thick, like, oh, I think it's from the same sewing stash. I'm not sure what this will be used for. This is definitely like a really stiff, like men's collar or cuffs or something like that, but it's always good to have in the stash. Also, I got this little bit of calico here. This is a really thick calico. So there's just a bit here. I got this, well, I'm very often asked for unusual projects to make for my mister. And so that one will go into that pile of, you never know when you might need a thick bit of nice cotton calico, just in case. That's there. I also found some trims. This gorgeous ribbon, oh my goodness. So this is definitely vintage. I'm not sure when from. Could be silk. I'd say it's most likely rayon by the feel of it. So there is quite a bit here, as you can see, and I'm getting huge big lingerie vibes out of this. It is soft, it is beautiful, double-sided. It's just, they just don't make things like this anymore, right? So again, next to nothing, $2 for this whole lot is going into my stash for the right project when it comes along. I also found this little piece of grosgrain ribbon. Again, this is definitely vintage because it is stiff but soft at the same time. What I find in the shop, at least just brand new, is not like this. So for 50 cents, I got this great amount that again sits in my stash ready for me when I need it. One of the salvaged items, although I did not salvage it myself, is this metal zip. So this is not a dress zip, this is a jacket or an outerwear zip. It's big and chunky, but it is so nice. It just glides. You can tell it's been used because there's still little threads here all through it that are telltale that it's actually already been unpicked from something. So this I will use in my stash for maybe my mister again likes to have plastic. Neither of us like plastic zips, so I'm actually have plans to replace maybe a jacket plastic zip that I found, you know, with this nice metal zip, or on a bag or something like that, to replace maybe those big chunky plastic ones that you get and replace it with a nicer metal zip. So this will be sort of those types of applications that will sit in my stash. And if you see this on a garment already, this has already been unpicked from a garment. Wonderful salvage items. I'm actually thinking of doing a video on maybe like all the sewing supplies I could salvage off ready-made garments for maybe $20 or something. Let me know if you want to see that video because I might just make it. Okay, and then the fabric section. Oh well, quickly, two patterns first. A little skirt one and a knit top, because coming up with some different lessons for vintage sewing school, and that is I've been collecting some knit fabrics. So this one was a little remnant. It's just a little lingerie knit, and I have this red rib knit circular design. I got this one. It's fantastic. This one's obviously my color, and again, so lucky to get this beautiful mustard, this cotton knit here. These are going into my I need a huge knit stash because I have lessons coming up on both fabric, different fabric types and knits. So I'm on the lookout for all different kinds of fabrics I can get my hands on, as many as possible. So they were fantastic to find in the fabric remnant section. And then these ones, oh my goodness, wait till you see these. Okay, so don't peek at this one, I'll show you this one first. So this is a gorgeous, actually I think this is maybe a linen viscose mix. It's definitely a linen, but it is really sort of, it's a bit softer than linen usually is, which makes me think it's maybe mixed with some viscose or rayon. So gorgeous. There is quite a bit here, meters of it. Again, it is such a good quality. On closer inspection, when I opened this up, it's actually is a little bit stained. You probably can't see it on camera, but there are some stains on here, which actually makes me think why this is so beautiful and such a great quality is that it's likely a vintage fabric. It's old enough to get those old, basically old marks that you find on aged fabric. But usually I do find that they soak out with my magic little pink tub of nappy sand. That's what I use. That's what we can get here in Australia. That's what I use. Gets those stains out usually pretty well. So I'm going to give this a soak. And then I have this amazing, look how soft it is, right? Yeah, keep your eyes peeled. This is a great find. Goes into my stash for the right project. And also I found this. This is my favorite, I think. This one, this fabric here. Again, there's quite a number of meters here of this, which makes it amazing. I can really make something out of it. It is really stiff. I think it's cotton, but it might be a poly cotton. It's sort of, the wrinkles come out quite easily, which makes me think maybe it is. I wouldn't usually like poly cotton, but look at this check fabric. I just adore it. So had to come home with me. What I'm thinking of this one, I'm thinking a cute pinafore out of this will be amazing. We're coming into the cooler months, and so I'm thinking layers. I would love to have this, and oh, I haven't pre-washed it yet, and definitely needs it. So that one I think is one of my favorite fabric finds that I cannot wait to make out of that one. So those are items. They were all bundled up at the thrift store. Not all thrift stores have fabric sections, sewing sections, but a lot do, and I found those ones in there. It's always hit and miss, always hit and miss. Like sometimes you find great things and other times you go there and there's not a single sewing thing at all. It's always hit and miss with the thrifting and buying secondhand. I did find actually this necklace that I'm wearing and this one here. I mean, a little bit of fashion goes, you know, you need the accessories to go with our sewing, right? And so 2 items of clothing here. Always look at clothing that you can either find just fabric out of, like maybe a great linen or something like that. That's usually quite expensive, but if it's a big skirt that you can just cut out, collars, cuffs, pockets, nice contrast fabric in really nice fabric, have a look at garments and always get those. Or of course, what can you refashion? Or as I say, garment renovation. There's great things there that you can sew, and sewing doesn't just mean sewing from a pattern. Refashioning is a great way. So I found this little cotton number. I'm going to use this as a just as a petticoat, basically. Should fit quite well, should just pull over the top, and as a petticoat for an extra layer coming up in the cooler, somewhat cooler months ahead. So that is amazing. If all else fails, I would actually just cut it and use it as a petticoat, just a skirt. Because look at all this great embroidery. It would take me ages to actually do this myself. And a lovely cotton. And then I found this one is quite interesting. So this here, black will be really hard to see. Let me show you. So this here is a gorgeous little coat. It's got just like these little toggles. I'll probably change these toggles to something else, but it's just this like, you know, bed jacket. I'm thinking it definitely needs some pockets here though. So I'll find some salvaged fabric to make some little pockets there, and possibly I'm thinking this, either leave it as is. I might take it in and contour it, but I kind of like it loose and baggy. So what I think though might work is some embroidery or some trim or something along the edges of these sections here. You can see them quite close up. So something along, you know, through here, keep it a la Miss Fisher loungewear type number. It is a beautiful linen. It's just gorgeous. It's going to be great to just lounge around in, I think, and really enjoy. So I really look forward to that. So in my little collection for this few months, I have found remnant fabrics. I've salvaged items from, you know, different garments. Might actually do that other video on what I can salvage. Some patterns, all thrifted, and even the local classifieds. I went to many different thrift stores to get my supplies here. And so I definitely I suggest that, as in a lot of people go to one thrift store and then think, there's no sewing things. Oh well, there's just none in my area. buying secondhand like this is about the treasure hunting. Look in your local classifieds, look at all the different thrift stores you can. Look them up, find where they are. Often they're little churches and they're not even online, so it just takes scouting out to find all these places, and you can find some really, really great things. I hope it gives you a little look into what you might be able to find as well, and keeping for your stash. It's just always so much fun, right? So make sure you tell me down below, which is your favorite of these? Which would you have not left behind either? I always love to know which is your favorite finds as well. So until next time, my sewing friends, happy sewing. Bye.